Okay. So good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for being here tonight. My name is Roseanne Santos. I am the Director of Alumni Engagement at John Jay College. I've been with the college for about 8 years, and prior to being with Alumni Engagement and Annual Giving, I was in Student Affairs. I'm so pleased to bring this program to you tonight in collaboration with the Department of Public Management. I invite my colleague, Michelle, to introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Michelle Grayson, and I'm the MPA Career Advisor for the MPA program.
Yes, thank you so much for working with us in alumni relations. I think that it's really important for our current students and alumni to understand how valuable our alumni network is. A, because we have people who will be really great for you in your networking and in your future. B, because our speaker is an alumni and a faculty member at the college. And C, because you will eventually be an alum. And hopefully I can call on you to do one of these presentations and give back. So with that said, I am going to turn it over to Professor Kenneth Grossberger, if he wouldn't mind just doing a very brief introduction of who he is, what he does, and if you wouldn't mind answering one question before you start with your wonderful presentation. If it weren't for John Jay, ... The floor is yours. Yes, the floor is yours.
Right. Well, good evening, everyone. Yes, so if it weren't for John Jay, I'd be in a different place. How's that? All right, so yes, my name's Ken Grossberger. I'm an instructor in the Department of Public Management, and both of my master's degrees have come from John Jay. I'm currently a doctoral candidate, and my PhD will also come from John Jay. So I owe the school a great deal. For the past 15 years, it's been my academic and intellectual home. So tonight's presentation is how are you going to use your master's degree or degrees and professional certifications in your own personal career development. Now, some of you are alumni, you've already got your master's degree, and some of you are working hard to get it. And for those of you that are engaged in the process of getting your degree, I congratulate you. It's an effort. It's certainly an investment of your time, your money, and yourself. Other people are out doing other things, and you're doing homework and doing projects for school. So I certainly congratulate you. So tonight, what are we discussing? We're going to take about 20 minutes or so, and we're going to discuss how your professional certifications that you hopefully will get will work with your master's degrees. So by and large, we're talking about your MPAs and the various tracks that you're on, and some of you may have been master's degree in criminal justice or perhaps an MS in PMT. So just a couple of quick ones from the first slide, how they could track well. You might get a certified fraud examiner certification. We'll go into more of that later. That would track well with those of you on IO. An SPHR, Senior Professional in Human Resources, would track well with those of you on the HR track. So those complement each other quite well. These certifications do require testing. There usually is an experience requirement, and all of them have ethical parameters. More on that later. But the ones that I'm going to show you tonight, and there are many more, they are very well respected in their industries. And what we're looking for is combinations that help you strengthen your resume, give you some additional leverage in the job market, and of course, assist you in career development. The training is high caliber. You will take a test in these cases, and frankly, any certification you get that doesn't require a test probably isn't worth much. The last thing you want to do is spend some money on some pretty multicolored certificate that's hanging off the wall and can't get you anyplace. So we're all looking for something that's going to help you. And down the road, as you know, the idea is not to get any job, but to get a good job with a potential for advancement. That's why you work so hard to get your master's degree. So there's basically two strategies we're going to be looking at. One is compatibility, master's degrees that track well with these certifications, such as the MPA with a certified fraud examiner, or a PMT with a certified protection professional. More on these certifications later. or some sort of a balance to give you diversity in your resume. Maybe you want to get a certification that's got that's something different from what your master's degree is. So typically, these certifications involve joining the organization, not usually mandatory, but sometimes they are. There are going to be fees involved. We'll discuss that. And more often than not, there'll be some sort of educational parameter in order to get the degree. And sometimes the education can substitute for the experience requirement for the certification. So usually these days we take tests at testing centers. A lot of this is online. That can go anywhere from 2 to 4 hours in most cases, probably closer to 2. And there are some ethical standards for the way these tests are taken. They want to make sure that there's no cheating, obviously. It weakens the degree. The fees vary. We'll go into those. A variety of aids to help you in taking the examination, online tests, prep courses, studying your own if you can do that, if you've got the discipline. And there's a variety of tutors and trainers. Some organizations like AS International do provide free mentors. So all of these organizations have codes of professional ethics. They are preeminent organizations in their industry. They do provide education and organizational parameters. Also, they do give you the opportunity for professional advancement. You will be known as a subject matter expert or an SME. You could, through the organization, through networking, get called upon perhaps for consulting or for expert analysis because you do have that expertise once you get your certification. You will earn continuing professional education credits. Usually it's every year or 2. That's so you're eligible to recertify. You do that by various means, seminars, webinars, training, going to meetings, or if you go for an advanced degree, that all qualifies for your CPE. So it's helpful to get recertified. So a useful certification comes from a known organization. If nobody ever heard of it, then that certification is not worth much. The ones I'm going to present to you tonight are nationally recognized. They do involve a test, and they won't be free. So just some in brief, there are financial investigative certifications, a CFE and a CPA you can see on your screen. There are a lot in the security industry. I'm just going to present a few. I've got a CPP, Certified Protection Professional, which means I'm board certified in security management, plus having my MS in PMT from John Jay, plus my master's in criminal justice. So, you know, I try to make sure I was well situated in my industry. Then there's other certifications which you can see in front of you. Also, there's a wide variety of human resource certifications. I'm going to go through a few just to give you an idea. There's also a notable one for healthcare administration and security. That's the CHPA. And there's a whole bunch for cybersecurity. I'm going to just present them to you for your information. Not going to go through all of them in detail. So, as you know, your education, the MPA has various tracks. There's various specializations and concentrations for protection management. Some of you may have an MA in criminal justice at John Jay. I encourage you, if you haven't done so already, to look at the doctoral programs at John Jay. I'm in criminal justice. We also host psychology at John Jay. And then there's various doctoral degree programs in public administration out there. The most notable one in our area is Rutgers. Please look at those. If you've got a master's degree, I assure you, you can do the work. And if you just write your name and put PhD after it, and if that gets your attention, then maybe you're a candidate for a doctorate. Career strategy. Where are you going? How are you going to get there? Certainly, your master's degree puts you in a professional class. And again, I congratulate you for making that effort. The resume, of course, should feature an executive summary that indicates what the 3 or 4 things you want the reader to see if they read nothing else, because chances are in the first run they might not. Get it done on page 1. Combinations of degrees, not going to go through all this. This slide is there for your information, as is this one. And of course, at the end of the presentation, I'll make sure you can get in touch with me. I'll be happy to give you a copy of this presentation. So the first one, the American Certified Fraud Examiner organization, a CFP is basically the people who are dealing in fraud in organizations, tracks well with several of the specializations in your master's degree. So again, you can see here, you join the organization. Usually there's a character standard, and of course, there's minimum academic and professional requirements. So the benefits: increase your earnings, advance your career, enhance your marketability, gain professional visibility and credibility, and distinguish yourself from your peers. This comes from their website, which you can check out. That's pretty typical of what you see in these professional organizations. Of course, you join the organization. The fee for this one's $399. You will take the exam. There's a prep class. It's or you can attend their review class, which you'll pay for, or you can study on your own. The exam's on computer. They do have ethical standards. It is closed book. You'll have to sign a document that says that, and they do have integrity controls. And their mantra is, the typical organization loses 5% of its revenue to fraud. That's why the CFE certification is useful. The American Society for Industrial Security, now known as ASIS International, the leading organization for security professionals, a variety of educational programs, 3 major certifications. I can tell you from firsthand experience a great deal of industry networking. They have a magazine, as most of them do, and to join costs $195. 3 certifications. I've got the CPP, that's the generalist in the world of security. They do have their own professional certification for investigators. Then they have a physical security professional, somebody who does combined systems. And it's $450 if you're a non-member to take the test. So there is going to be an investment on your part. Why certify? Again, this comes from their website. This is pretty typical of what you see. Validation of your expertise, recognition by your peers, gives you a competitive edge, and of course, personal satisfaction and career enhancement. Another one I just threw in here is Certified Lodging Security Director. This is the hotel and motel security certification. You can see what they do here. You're going to take an exam, again, $500 for non-members, and you'll see the strategy. In most cases, if you join the organization, the test pays for itself. In other words, the difference between the non-member fee and the member fee is paid for by joining the organization, which you're going to want to do anyway because you're going to want the benefits of the education and the networking. And of course, there's an experience qualification. And here's how you get in touch. AICPA. Some of you will be interested in becoming a certified public accountant. This is the organization that you go to take the exam. It certainly is going to be a benefit to you, especially if you're interested in accounting. There is a 4-part exam. It's quite challenging. The fee is about $1,500. You can check out the details online. SHRM, the Society for Human Resources Management, is perhaps the largest. They claim to be the largest. To join costs $219. Again, very helpful in terms of networking and educational opportunities. Again, there's a degree and experience qualification. I'm sorry, the qualifications for the test are going to require a degree of some kind, usually a 4-year degree, and experience. And there's the fees. It costs $400 for a non-member. 2 levels, a certified professional, a senior certified professional. You'll start with the certified professional level, and that should be good for your career. Very well known and very well respected in the industry. Another HR organization is the HR Certification Institute. They've got a variety of certifications, which you can see here. The test, again, this is pretty typical. 150 to 200 questions is typically what you see. 3 hours is kind of a long exam. Most are 2.5, and there are the fees. So there is an application fee in this case, plus the SPHR costs $595. The others are $495. IAHSS, the International Association of Healthcare Safety and Security. These are the people that basically protect clinics and hospitals. Again, very well respected. Membership fee is $150. Their certification is a CHPA, a Certified Healthcare Protection Administrator. Costs $525 for non-members, so it's worth it to join. And again, you're going to want the benefit of joining the organization. A couple of information systems certifications, I just put them in here to give you something to look at. This one basically looks at systems audits. It has a couple of certifications. The one that I think you'd be looking at here is the CISM, Certified Information Security Manager. Again, there's an exam fee. This is pretty technical stuff, but some of you with your MSA, your master's degrees might want to look at this. And there's a couple of other certifications that this organization provides. Another organization that provides technical certifications is ISC2. Their membership fee is $125. They require a 4-year degree plus experience. And again, if there is an industry experience requirement, usually it can be offset with a 4-year degree. So don't be put off if you look on a website and they say you have to have 5, 6, 7 years of experience before you can take the test. If you've got a master's degree, generally that will satisfy at least part, if not all, of the experience requirement. And there's some of the other certifications.
Sorry
this
to stop you.
particular,
We have a question in the chat. Badis asks if there's she missed the part about the CFE and if there's a substitution for work experience.
yes, a master's degree usually will satisfy part or all. The best thing to do in that case is to call or email the organization, and I'm sure you could work something out. As a matter of fact, we've got a former chapter president of the CFE who's a professor at John Jay, and I can certainly put you in touch with her.
Can you tell us her name?
Yeah, Professor Chelsea Binns.
Okay.
She's over in fire science, police science.
While the audience is gathering their questions, thank you so much. I'm not in the profession, but I learned a ton. I was wondering if, depending on the sector you're in, some of these certifications are better than others. So for example, if you work for the city, state, or any government entity, is there a certification that's ideal? Versus if you work in the private sector, is there a certification that's ideal?
There are a number, and again, depends where you are. I like the CFP, Certified Fraud Examiner. It's more than just an investigative certification. It's a very high level certification, and it is possible to get. It's doable. But it also alludes to the fact that you are professional. It does have a lot to do with administration. A lot of folks that have CFEs are in banks or go into not just investigative roles in government, but also administrative roles. And that's a very powerful combination. I know several John Jay alum have both their MPAs and the CFE, very powerful combination, very helpful. And on the private end, there are a number of them. Certainly a CPA is helpful. If it depends if you want to stay in security or not. There are some public administration certifications. Frankly, some of them didn't look really good to me, so I didn't present them. They come from universities that are not accredited, so I was a little curious about that. But if you go to Rutgers, for example, they do have certificate programs in public administration besides the PhD program.
Now, are there any courses that students are already taking that will help them pass these certification exams versus having to take an expensive course or prep course?
It's a very good question. Frankly, if you got an MPA from John Jay, you've got all your practice in. What you need to know is some of the information that's particular to a test. For any MPA student, for anybody with a master's degree from John Jay, do it on your own. And again, a lot of these organizations provide some free help, but I would recommend if you're an intelligent person, you've already conquered the field by getting a master's degree, so you can study on your own and you will pass the test.
I have a question here that says from Michael Maini. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Are there any suggested certifications? Sorry about that, the noise. Are there any suggested certifications for NGO or international organizations?
Besides what I've presented here, there probably are. I could research that and get back to you. Certainly, if you email me, I'd be happy to help you out with that. I don't know of any specifically for non-government organizations. Some of the ones I've presented tonight will be helpful. again, that I keep coming back to that CFE, the Certified Fraud Examiner. It's broader than just an investigation certification. It does have other parameters along the administrative lines. And it can, and again, depends on what role you're looking for in an NGO. Like, let's say the American Red Cross, quite large, very diverse. It depends on where you want to go. But again, email me and I'd be happy to help you out with that.
The questions are rolling in, Ken. A question from Tyler Lashke. Are you familiar with the CHPP certification with the National Sheriff's Association and the Global Society for Homeland Security Professionals? If so, what are your thoughts?
I'm not specifically aware of that one. In the world of certifications, there are many, hundreds, perhaps even more. That one, the CHPP, I'm not particularly aware of, but if it comes from a major organization like the National Sheriff's Association, undoubtedly it's a for real certification. Mm-hmm. Again, if you email me, or I can send you my phone number, we can talk about it, and perhaps I could provide something that might help you.
Ken, do you genuinely have to be alert to fraudulent or non-legitimate certifications and courses out there?
Yes.
Okay.
You've got all these online universities that are not accredited. Their degrees aren't really worth anything. The same thing for the certificate programs. And those are the ones that tend to charge a lot more money. Again, the range we're looking at of the dozen or so I've presented tonight are in the $400 or $500 range, $300 range. Generally, to join an organization and get a certification, you shouldn't be spending more than $400, $500, $600. I don't minimize the money, but I see certification programs out there that are well into the thousands, and that doesn't really look right. That looks like this is more about the money than helping somebody in their career.
Okay. Jessica Matev has a question. She says, thank you for the information. Would you kindly elaborate upon the urban planning sector in public administration? I don't believe I saw that on a slide.
No, I didn't cover that. And again, in 20 minutes, it's just somewhat limited. Urban planning is out there. Again, I'm not really sure which particular certification would be useful, and it depends on what, I suppose, where you are with your master's program. But urban planning is certainly a big field. It is out there. And again, if you email me, I'd be happy to help you out with that as well.
Okay. I'm not sure I'm understanding this question from Michelle Osei. Perhaps does MPA textbook or study guides, are there any available for students within the department or perhaps in the library on campus? Any study guides for these certifications?
The study guides come from the organizations.
Okay.
Whether it's, CPP or becoming an accountant or any one of these technical organizations, they generally will provide the study guide. You have to buy it, but buying the study guide is a lot cheaper than, taking a course for $1,000. And then, what you want with the study guide, of course, is to buy it online so you get the updates. If you buy the paper version, then it's pretty static and you'd have to buy the updates anyway.
Okay. Ashley Leno Frazier is asking, with the MPA degree, you stated the CPP is helpful. What makes this certification helpful compared to the others?
If you're in the world of security, homeland security, anything to do with risk management, the CPP, the Certified Protection Professional, is the generalist. You're board certified in security management. It is internationally respected. I believe, as is ASIS, is in at least 30 or 40 countries. They're in South America, Europe, Asia, very well respected. Certainly respected by Homeland Security. In fact, if you have a CPP, you can actually certify the organization that you belong to work for Homeland Security in terms of terrorism. That's a different discussion, but suffice it to say, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security recognizes the CPP as a national certification.
Okay. I do a lot of career coaching, and I want to make a suggestion to folks out there as you're diligently shopping around for jobs and trying to figure it out. Check out what the job descriptions are asking for. Do you happen to see companies asking for any one or two particular certification as a preferred skill? And make note of that, and that can make a difference. So Gabrielle Calderella, she said, you mentioned several PhD programs at John Jay. My degree will be an MPA. Would you say it would be possible to transition to the PhD in psychology program at the college?
Yes, and certainly contact the program and speak to them. I'm sure they'd be happy to speak to you. What I usually like to suggest to folks that are looking at PhD programs, certainly talk to the administration people in the program, then find a student that's currently in the program, and you'll find out everything you need to know. Plus, you'll probably make a friend in the process.
That's great advice. Isn't the PhD program on campus psychology and the law? Isn't it a combo of some kind? I don't think it's just psychology. I think it's psychology and the law. So I'm not sure if that means a dual law degree or if that just means there's an aspect of legal studies. So that's something to look into as well. You have another question from Christopher de Nobrega. Good evening. Can compliance, payment card industry experience account for CFE experience, including the MPA IO degree? I will be graduating this fall with 2 specializations, investigation and operational inspection and organizational assessment and monitoring. Would my listed credentials qualify for fraud examination career and the CFE?
The answer is probably the organization can tell you, but that's a very good question. A lot of organizations will very gladly take substitute experience or educational degrees in lieu of their, whatever the parameters are for experience. But sounds like the CFE is tailor-made for you. Again, it's a lot broader of a certification than it looks, but the answer is, I would say probably yes.
Okay. Patricia McCall is asking, I am in the process of taking the exam for my CFE. Does it make sense to also get certification in the CPP for Professional Certified Investigator? Also, to all students, it is better to get the CFE material while a student because it is much cheaper. So that's good advice. There's always a student price for something.
Always. Yes, that's a very good idea. Once I finish my degree this summer, I'll be taking the CFE exam myself because I want the combination of the Certified Protection Professional and the Certified Fraud Examiner. I'm a professional consultant as well as a teacher at John Jay. And how do I differentiate myself from the competition? Well, they're going to look at my degrees and my certifications. They're going to figure this guy must know something, without which, you just go by your good looks. So that's a good question. It's a good idea because combining the certifications as well as combining certifications with a master's degree is a very good strategy. Again, an investment in your time and your money and yourself, but it really does pay dividends.
That's a great question. Are there any other certification combos that come to mind that might be good to weave together?
There's always a combination. Again, it depends on your strategy and what you want to do. Okay. It can get to the point where it's too much. You see some people with so many initials after their name that they need two lines to sign the name, one for the name, one for all the certifications. Mm-hmm. You don't want to go too far, but you can certainly look at what I've presented. There are others. If you email me something specific, I will try to help you. But yeah, combining 2 certifications for a particular purpose in some sort of degree track, career track can be helpful. Take a look at an MPA as more of a general sort of degree, and then you take a look at, say, 2 complementary investigation certifications. It certainly can help. The world of retail, for example, is undergoing a huge change, a lot of technology, a lot more online. That doesn't mean that there's less of it. In fact, there's more. I mean, witness the fact in the past month, Amazon stock has gone through the roof. So we have what's called chain of supply. If I could take just a quick minute. It's not just the retail store where goods are being purchased. We're buying online, which is coming from manufacturer to warehouse to distribution center, which means there's an awful lot of risk in that chain. And they're not going to trust large amounts of capital and large amounts of inventory to people that don't have the expertise. This is where you become a subject matter expert by virtue of the fact you've got a high-level educational degree and a nationally recognized certification like a CFP. Those are the people that are going to get the jobs that are going to be handling the risk at a very high level, and those are good career tracks.
Thank you. That was great. Another question from Kimberly Skelta. I recently heard about the Six Sigma certifications. Are they actually well recognized and valuable? What about the project management professional, PMP certification?
Both are good. I don't know as much about them. I'm more familiar with Six Sigma. I know it's recognized in security. A lot of folks that are in as ASIS International have the CPP or the PCI or one of their security certifications also have gone through the Six Sigma training. It does give you a different perspective. It is respected. I'm not that familiar with the PMP. That you could research. And again, if you email me, I'd be certainly happy to help you if I could.
I do want to say that if any of you work for John Jay or any CUNY institution, Six Sigma courses are often offered by the human resources. Now, I don't know what standing they have within the certification process, but at least it's worth looking into if you can get it for free or at lower cost because it's provided for employees of CUNY. I've seen it multiple times on the HR website for training, additional training. Another question from Sharimer Shivanis. Thank you for the information. I understand many of the certifications mentioned are IO and human resources related. Do you have further advice in regards to certifications that are helpful in MPA, PPA outside of human resources?
There's a number of them. Again, I think the real question is what you see your career track as. Even though in the MPA program you have a specialization, you understand that applies to a great many fields. Again, there's a big difference whether you work for the government, city, state, federal, or an NGO, or even on the private side. It depends. A lot of private companies are very large and have an interest in the public sector because that's essentially where the economy's witnessed what's happened in the past 6 weeks. If there's ever been an example of the combined risk or the shared risk between public and private, it's been this pandemic. We've shut down the economy for a public health risk, and the folks that are now running the economy are basically policy professionals, not business leaders. Business leaders are essentially waiting to hear from the public policy folks when they can reopen, how they can reopen, and that kind of underscores the value of an MPA because it's the professionals and the people with masters in public health or folks in medical profession or people in public policy are the ones that are really determining what's going on in the United States right now. And those are the leaders that the politicians are listening to, if that sort of answers your question in a roundabout way. A specific certification, again, if you email me and give me something specific, perhaps I can help you.
I'm going to throw a little side question to you. Do you have any advice for the job search for these folks in this environment, in this climate?
Yes. I just will mention a book to you by a guy named Talib, T-A-L-E-B, The Black Swan. This is not the movie about the ballerina. This is the book about uncertainty. He talks about how we should be prepared for the uncertain, because uncertain events do happen once every blue moon, and of course the consequences are extreme. So he refers to Daniel Kahneman. Kahneman and Tversky won a Nobel Prize some years ago for their mathematical exercises in uncertainty, and we're not predicting, we're preparing, and we find ourselves in this particular situation, unprepared. As large, diverse, wealthy, and high-tech as we are, we didn't see it coming, and when it hit, we didn't know what to do. That's kind of amazing to be playing catch-up with something that's virtually shut down the economy. Now, it's happened before, but that was during times of war, but not to this extent. So, again, the leadership and the answers are going to come from the professionals.
So does that mean that when you're interviewing in times of uncertainty, you have to have perhaps some creative thinking, some critical thinking, kind of showing that you can be prepared for anything?
Yes, because a master's degree such as an MPA shows diversity. You've handled a variety of subjects. You've looked at a variety of different policies. So certainly when you walk into an interview, you want to put your best foot forward, because a master's degree indicates, if nothing else, you can read, you can write, more importantly, you can think. Mm-hmm. And you are prepared intellectually because you've at least examined any number of these issues before. You've written the papers, your writing skills are more refined, certainly. You can do the research, and research is where it's at in the future. Folks who can read and think and digest information and come up with policy analysis and policy recommendations. This is the work you've done. This is what you know how to do. Those are invaluable academic and intellectual skills that you should bring up in an interview, saying, I've done the work, I am prepared. And if something happens, even though we don't know what that is, I'm ready to handle it.
Great, good advice. We still have a few more questions. Franco Thomas is saying, I also started studying for the CFE. And a note to any MPA IO majors, we have already covered a lot of the material in the courses in this program. So it was more of a comment, and I think it supports something you said, Ken, that yes, a lot of the work you're already doing will support you in taking these certification exams.
Yeah, just let me tell you, I'll say unequivocally, you will pass the test because you know how to study. Those who don't study, the fail rate's pretty high. Those who pass, the pass rate's pretty high. The organization also wants you to pass. Consider, or certain organizations control their field. Like in the world of law, there's the Bar Association. So the more people that get certified in the field, the stronger the field becomes, and therefore they want people to get certified. So in my world, in security, the CPP is the governing certification, and they don't just want, I think, the 60,000 or so CPPs we have now. We'd like to get a lot more so that in the future, anybody that wants to seek out a risk manager or a security professional will look for somebody with a CPP. Just like right now, for your tax returns, you want a CPA, or in medicine, you want to have a doctor. You don't need to know that they're practicing different medicine in San Francisco than in Brooklyn, New York. You have a reasonable assurance. You step into a hospital anywhere in the United States, it's the same brand of medicine. We want the same thing in the world of security and risk management, or in fraud examination, or in accounting, or in any other degree.
Great, thank you. Tyler Lashke is asking, how can you determine colleges outside of New York State to be as equally accredited? I am looking at Liberty University for my PhD in public policy or criminal justice. They are accredited through the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools Commission on Colleges. Does that match the accreditation as seen in colleges in New York?
Well, I'm aware of Liberty University. Let me just suggest that if you're concerned about the accreditation, is this a valid degree that you're going to get? I would just generally suggest you check with the folks in the department. Perhaps some of the administrators, they could give you better advice. I'm a little leery about answering that question on an open line, if you can catch my hint. Again, just let's say that there's certainly a lot of accredited, very good institutions. Then there's some that really the degree isn't worth much. So again, if you call me, I'd be happy to talk to you privately.
Right. So someone's asking for the copy of the slides. So what I have told Ken was to send me the slides. And since I have everyone who registered for this event, I can send out a mass email with the slides attached, if that's acceptable, along with Ken's email address at the college. And someone is asking if you could repeat the name of the professor you referred earlier. Chelsea, what I believe was her name.
Professor Binns. She's over in police science.
And can you spell her last name?
B for boy, INNS.
Okay, and I'll go ahead and repeat that when I send the slides over. We're getting can you take the CFE exam at John Jay? That's from Michelle Osei.
I don't think so. The test is now online, the CFE test. It's in several different parts. I should have mentioned this before. A lot of these online tests are timed. They want to make sure, even though you sign an ethical statement saying you don't have the book in front of you, if you do, that you know what you're doing, because you won't have time to look up the answer. I think it's 75 seconds per question. And again, just briefly on these tests, if there's, let's say, 200 questions, they're not, you don't look at them as questions, you look at them as problems to solve. Almost all of them are A, B, C, D. So it becomes very passable. Depends upon what they consider passing. A lot of cases it's 70%, some cases it's 80%, which is a fairly high standard. But again, I believe most of these are online now. I think the main reason is because when you go to a testing center, it's an awful lot of overhead for an organization. So they want to make it easier for folks to take the exam. And of course, they want to have their ethical parameters to make sure that you're doing it on your own.
Okay. Now, what about mentorship in the field? Where or how does that work within this particular profession, in your opinion?
It comes from the members in the organization. I know when I first started with my certification, I just got all the help I needed. I went to an event, I met some people, I told them I wanted to take the test and stuff. Next thing you know, I had 4 or 5 business cards with people's phone numbers. So there's a lot of help in these organizations, as there's a lot of help in educational programs. And that's your best bet. So you contact the organization, go to one event, make a couple of friends, and you will have all the help you need.
That's great. That's great. I don't see there aren't any more questions coming in. So do you have any closing remarks, any words of advice, words of wisdom, particularly maybe for the class of 2020, who's leaving the college in a very tenuous economic environment?
2 comments, just real quickly. I've been a member of my organization, ASIS, for a very long time, and the networking has proven invaluable. Very often, I'll have to reach out to somebody who's an expert in some field, or I don't know anything in Chicago. I'll reach out to somebody in my organization. I'll get phone calls and emails trying to help colleagues who become friends. So the organizations do provide tremendous networking. All I can say about what we're going through is that from time to time throughout history, we're throwing these curveballs. This one's a pretty big one, tremendous risk. As you know, the stats are probably very understated in terms of those who've contracted the disease and certainly those who've died from it. We know that they've changed the methodology by which they've looked at the statistics. So with uncertainty also comes opportunity. And it's those who are educated and academically and intellectually prepared are going to be the ones who are going to be able to take advantage of the opportunities. Again, the events that may steer you in the right direction have not occurred yet. We've still got the summer and the fall to go. We'll see how well or how badly government handles all this, who's listening, who's not listening. Just one stat, if it means anything, New York, the United States is about 4% of the world's population, but about 32% of the cases so far, if you believe in the statistics. New York, of course, is the worst, and New York City is the worst, and frankly, the Bronx is the hardest hit. There are reasons for that. Underreporting of statistics, perhaps there's just more risk where we are. I can't believe that people in other parts of the country are doing things right and we're doing things wrong in New York. There are reasons for that. But you have the tools to be able to analyze that situation and perhaps come up with the policies that are going to change the direction. So if you're looking at uncertainty and the world looks like it's in chaos, consider the fact that you have spent all this time and effort preparing yourself to be in a situation where you can take advantage of the opportunities that have yet to present themselves, but might present themselves very soon. So I congratulate you on that, and in advance, happy graduation.
While you were speaking, there were 2 more questions that came in, if you don't mind. Someone is asking about the AIG certification and your thoughts. Is that a good certification?
From what I know, the answer is yes. Again, to be looked up, and a lot of the details of these certifications will come from the organizations. You can certainly look it up online, but my advice to all is, if you're interested, call or email the organization and ask your questions. And I'm positive you'll have somebody return your phone call and your email and point you in the right direction.
And Dominic Hart, he has a question and a comment. Students in their 2nd year of the MPA or IO get a 1-year membership with 2 associations. Do you know anything about those programs and the certifications they offer through it? I know the Association of the Inspector General has an event in the fall and spring to take a class for certification where you receive a few certifications.
Well, as everybody probably knows, the AIG is housed at John Jay. Matter of fact, it's on the 5th floor in Heron in our department. And those are good people to talk to. They can certainly steer you in that direction. Even though I teach a lot of IG courses, I don't really have anything to do with the organization. But contact them directly, contact the association. Again, it's right in our school. And I think they can be better off steering you or giving you an answer to that question.
And that's the point of a lot of these programs, the fact that John Jay College has such a strong network in the majors and careers that are coming out of our student body. You just mentioned that we house the AIG. I did not know that myself. So that just speaks to the quality of the network, and the folks that are graduating from these programs are going to be part of that network.
Certainly, 5th floor Heron. They're right there. They're part of us. Ask for help. I'm sure you'll get all the help you need.
Yeah. And I believe they got a lot of help tonight. There aren't any further questions. So Ken, thank you so much for your time and attention to this and for the preparation that you put into it. It was, I think, for someone who knows nothing about MPA, I feel like I can point a few people in the right direction should they ever come into the alumni office. So I thank you so much for this. I will send everyone a note with the slides tomorrow. And on behalf of Alumni Relations and Public Management, please stay well, stay safe. And thank you so much for being here with us this evening. Have a great night.
Take care.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you. Thank you.